You had a whole 20 seconds.
Stayed in my office.
Yeah, you could have stayed and practically walked around the
I don't
block.
trust that water bottle.
You are. All right, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July 7th meeting of the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Aaron Mays, represent District 3, currently serving as chairman. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1, and on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item is item 2, unfinished business. A, public hearing and consider approval of resolution number 2022-54, a conditional use permit to allow construction of a solar farm on a 13.71 acre property located at 4306 Southwest Auburn Road, zoned RR1 Residential Reserve in Mission Township, as remanded back to the Planning Commission and reconsidered, deferred from June 13th.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Interim Planning Director. As the clerk mentioned, we're here again on the solar farm from Auburn Road. I wanted to just do a quick little review of what has happened since the beginning of this project. First, it was heard by the Planning Commission on May 9, and it was approved 4-2 for recommendation, or recommended for approval by them at that time. It then came here to the Board of County Commissioners, and you considered it on June 13. It was remanded back to the Planning Commission at that time, and we were directed to set a special meeting to reconsider it so that it could be heard prior to the July Planning Commission meeting. That night, we did in fact have a Planning Commission meeting, so we set it for June 27, and then we had a new public hearing on that day. It was reconsidered, and some new conditions were looked at, a new site plan was looked at, and it was approved 4-1. There was one vote that abstained. I then put it on for rehearing this morning. So again, you were considering the solar farm. There is a new site plan as a part of your packet today. Essentially what has happened over the course of these couple of months is that the applicant has made some modifications to their site plan in between talking with staff, myself, and then also working with the neighbor to the north. They've made some pretty significant adjustments to the solar panels. And I'm going to skip forward just a little bit through all this and come back. I want you to see the new site plan. This is the original site plan that was presented to the Planning Commission back in May. And then when they came in front of you in June, this was the site plan that was considered. And what is being looked at today is this. And so you can see the significant change here along Auburn Road. What they did was they pushed these solar panels back a good 160 feet from Auburn Road, which while Auburn Road wasn't necessarily the issue, what that does is it in fact pushes the solar panels back to this spot here at or near the garage. And so on here they've placed an image of the house. This is where the house is, and this is where the garage is. And so now those solar panels aren't going to begin until at least the side of the garage. It also, in the discussions that I had with them, I indicated I would like to see a setback of at least a minimum of 50 feet from the property line, which then puts it at a good 100 feet from the house. When they pushed it back, however, it actually puts it more like 125 to 130 feet from the house. So there's a significant change. Let's go back to... Okay, so what happened at the June 13 meeting, you remanded it back. We did send out notice to all of the neighbors in the 1,000-foot area so that there was notification again that it was going back to the Planning Commission. We published it in the paper, we put it on social media sites, and had it on our website. As I said, the applicant made some significant modifications to the site plan. They listened to the discussions here between the commissioners. They also went back and talked with their transmission line people so that they can encroach on the easement of that transmission line, as was talked about. And they also worked with myself and with the neighbors. When I presented to the Planning Commission, I again recommended approval based on the new changes. The Planning Commission did make some changes in regards to the height of the chain link fence, as well as they wanted to have a set height for some of the trees that are put into place. They asked that those be a minimum of 6 feet when they are planted, just to ensure that small little plants weren't planted that didn't actually make a difference on the chain link fence for some years. As I mentioned, the solar panels were moved back significantly from Auburn Road. They moved some of them into the transmission lines. One thing that this did affect is that previously the entrance was going to straddle this property and the one to the south. And with moving those solar panels so far south, they moved them almost to the property line on the south side. And so they're going to have an entrance fully on the property to the south. And so they had to enter into an access easement agreement with that property. In the long run, those properties will be owned by the same people, but at this point, we wanted to have that agreement in place to ensure that it legally gave them access to their property. One thing that we did ask to have removed when it was in front of the Planning Commission was the reference to the 2011 conditional use permit. There was some issue in regards to getting their easement in place for that permit. However, it's a completely separate permit, and we have the ability to enforce it within that permit itself. They are working on it, but it's going to be a work in progress because they're going to have to make some changes to some of the transmission lines or work with their transmission team in that. And so I didn't want it to hold up this project because it was an unrelated issue and can be dealt with through that 2011 conditional use permit. They worked with the neighbors, and the one neighbor most impacted did acknowledge at the Planning Commission meeting that he still wasn't happy about having a solar farm next to him, that he was more pleased with the plan and that he was willing to see it be put into place. It is much better and more acceptable for him. Conditions that the Planning Commission made, they wanted to increase the height of the chain link fence from 6 feet to 8 feet and still have that 1 foot of barbed wire on top. The main priority with that was to keep wildlife out. We had one of the planning commissioners mention that deer are able to jump a 6 foot fence, and if you jump a 6 foot fence and have barbed wire on top, that there would be concern that deer could get caught on top of it. And by raising that fence a little bit higher, that would help keep the wildlife out in general. And then they wanted to set a height on the trees to 6 feet. I also, in my recommendations to the Planning Commission, included the 1-year review that was discussed on the Cairo solar farm that was approved by you back in June. And I also recommended that we include the language about grandfathering it in, or it would not be grandfathered in if new regulations were put into place. And again, they voted on it, and it was recommended for approval 4-1-1. As you see here is the spot where it's going to be located on this aerial. And then the neighbor the people that we had to notify with the neighbor 1,000 feet. The original site plan, the site plan you considered in June, and then the new site plan. I wanted to point out here before I'd moved on earlier, as you notice here are those transmission lines, and you can see how significantly they impact those. But when they worked with the transmission team, they indicated as long as they had room to move some trucks through here, and as long as they kept it minimal in a couple of points, that it was acceptable. And so they were able to really modify that significantly. I also wanted to show a few pictures of the property itself. This is looking into the property from Auburn Road. And again, from the middle of the parcel, looking further into the property. This is essentially where the entrance is going to be, and you can see the substation there to the south. And you'll notice that there's chain link fence on that substation, no barrier wall, and actually no vegetation. The primary goal with that vegetation and the vinyl slats and the fencing is to help protect it from the neighbor to the north and give them some privacy. This is looking back over to Auburn Road. This is the home of the neighbor where his garage is located. And then you can see they do have a significant amount of vegetation around their property as well, so that will help block those as well. And looking from the property into the neighbor's property. And the substation. My recommendation today is that you approve this project. I did want to make a couple of modifications to the resolution that I sent to you as a part of this packet, and it's not anything referencing specific actions. Instead, it's more clerical to make it a little bit clearer. And the first is that I wanted to remove clause 1D of the resolution, which references a minimum of 50-foot setback from the property line and 100-foot from the house itself. And the reason I'm recommending this is that the applicant actually exceeded those setbacks, and I don't want to make it confusing in the future if you're looking at a site plan and you're looking at the conditional use permit resolution and see a difference. I prefer that we actually just reference the site plan itself. And so I would remove that clause 1D and instead insert a new number 1 that says, shall maintain the minimum setbacks of the solar panels as shown in the site plan dated 6/25/22. And what that does is it references particularly that site plan. And then I would have to change the numbering on the resolution to make it all read correctly. And then on number 2, it says the site plan shall be amended to show, because we do want them to make a couple of additions to that site plan as set forth on the resolution. And we just need to reference there the site plan dated 6/25/22. And the things that they have to amend on the site plan include the height of the fencing, the trees, ensuring that they use the minimum gravel to keep any dust from floating around, the access location that they need. And some of those are probably already on the site plan. We just want to ensure that they're included as part of the conditions of what it is that the county would recommend and require. And I have no further input unless you have questions for me.
Questions for Joni?
Sure.
Commissioner Cook.
On your request to change, are you wanting to remove 1D and substitute it with the new 1, or is the 1 then going to read, because currently 1 reads, the site plan shall be amended to show, and so
I want to add a new 1 and then change the site plan shall be amended to show. I want to change that to number 2 and say that the site plan dated
Okay.
6/25/22 shall be amended to show. And what I would request of the applicant is that they just say that have a date on the top that says 6/25/22 as amended.
got it.
Any other questions? Okay, then I would make a motion that we go into a public hearing.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We're in a public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the project?
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Carey, PPB Enviro Solutions, here on behalf of Evergy and Free State. I'm going to keep this pretty quick. I think Joni covered a lot of our points. I think the first thing to point out is the process has really worked the way it's supposed to. We came to the Planning Commission with a proposal. We had some ideas. We got feedback. We got feedback from you all. We went back and forth, worked with the adjoining property owner, worked with other stakeholders, and came up with a plan that I think today is better than the plan that we came up with at the very beginning. So ultimately, definitely with Joni's assistance, we have a site plan here that I think Evergy and Free State are happy with. The adjoining property owner, while he may not, love the idea of living next to a solar farm, I think he's definitely much happier with this plan than what he was at the very beginning. And ultimately, the process worked the way it was supposed to. So I did not go over this PowerPoint with you guys last time. We're going to keep this really high level. But a few concerns came up, and I thought it was worth bringing a few things to your guys' attention. The first thing that I'm going to point out is that this is a distribution scale project. It's a small solar farm that's designed to feed directly into Free State's substation there. It's not something that's going to be expanded and expanded and expanded over time. The size that's being proposed today is the size that that substation can handle, and so that's the size it's going to be. Moving on, as part of all of our discussion, some of the big concerns that came up were The proximity and the visibility from the nearby residents, the potential for glare to motorists who are driving on Auburn Road, the potential for noise coming from the solar farm. I know last time we were here, we talked about heat islands. We've heard comments on electromagnetic frequency interference, long-term erosion control associated with runoff from the solar panels themselves, and then traffic. So, after hearing all of those concerns, we were able to come up with a game plan to address every single one of them. You saw in the site plan, we were able to push back the solar panels to behind Mr. Bayless's garage, which was his request. That is going to make it so that they're not visible from his back porch. We're looking at non-deciduous trees and plantings along the fence line to provide that additional visible barrier, and then the vinyl privacy slats. From a glare standpoint, we commissioned a glare study to evaluate how motorists would be affected by glare. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be a glint that you may get as you drive along that area, but it's not going to be a sustained glare that's going to interfere with someone who's driving along that road. Heat islands. We looked into this pretty extensively. Most of the studies on heat islands for solar farms were based on large-scale projects, not these smaller distribution-scale projects. But what we found is that, generally speaking, solar farms don't have the same type of heat island effects that you see in like an inner city. And that's because while they may warm up during the day to be 3 or 7 degrees higher, overnight they cool off. So you don't have this sustained warming, staying hot, warming more the next day, staying hot, warming more. They warm up during the day, and then they pretty much cool off completely in the evening, and then that process repeats over and over. The noise, the noisiest equipment on the site is going to be the inverters. We have 13 inverters as part of this project. They emit a sound of about 65 decibels, which is pretty much consistent with a normal business office environment. So not a lot of noise associated with the solar farm operations themselves. Very likely by the time you get to the fence line, it's not even going to be noticeable. And then finally, EMF interference. We dug into this a little bit. There have been studies by the National Renewable Energy Lab in Colorado that has looked at specifically EMFs associated with solar farm inverters. And what they found is that the EMF emitted by a solar farm at 100 feet, or by an inverter at 100 feet, is about equivalent to that emitted by a cell phone a mile away. So, those types of interferences are going to be negligible compared to everybody who's on their phone on Auburn Road every day. Again, here's our current site plan. Like Joni mentioned, we were able to encroach on the transmission line easement. We were able to keep the solar panels themselves, behind the front of his garage. We added plantings along the along the west side and along the north side. You guys have seen this. This is where it's located. Just more photos showing what the property and surrounding areas look like. And then I thought this was interesting as well. This is a comparable solar farm that Evergy has in Baldwin City. And this shows here what the vegetation looks like at that property. This is another one that's going to be more representative of the plant mix that we're using at Crooked Post and at the Cairo farm you guys heard about a few weeks ago. And so, honestly, it looks great in my opinion. I think you have a nice mix there. It's going to be visually appealing. And if you look at that, you don't see a lot of signs of erosion or vegetation issues out there. So that's all I have for you guys. Again, I think the process has worked well. I do have a simple fact sheet that if you guys would like, I can get you a copy of that basically describes what it is that this project is going to involve.
Thank you. And if you can have one for the clerk.
So with that, I would take any questions that you guys have.
Any questions?
I don't have any.
All right, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the project? Anyone here to speak against the project? Seeing none, I'd make a motion, well, actually, I'll let one of you make the motion. How about that?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing to to adopt the resolution as amended by the planning director. That's a motion.
Okay. So is that sufficient, the motion to, or do we need to spell out exactly what Joni said?
I think Joni put it into the record, so
Okay.
to speak, as to what those changes would be, and she will be bringing forward, let me push my button here, Jim Kraus, Shawnee County Councilor, she will be bringing forward an amended resolution that will contain those precise changes.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, before we go.
Sure.
I do want to thank Evergy, Free State, homeowner, everybody. I know that it was a bit of concern with having it go back to the planning department, causing delays, and I just want to appreciate everybody's cooperative spirit in coming up with an agreement that everybody can live with. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I think the statement was made that the process worked the way it should, and I agree with that. This conditional use permit process is imperfect, but it seemed to work pretty good in this case. I think it was a big improvement from where we started at. Again, thanks to staff, to the Planning Commission members, to Westar, Evergy, and Free State, and to the homeowners next door. I mean, I'm glad everybody came and spoke with us and did what we needed to do.
I think that the process did work, but I think it also shows that we need to get some regulations in place, some zoning regulations for solar and wind energy in the future, and something we need to work towards to have something in place, something we can hang our hat on in the future. So.
All right, great. Next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
On the consent agenda today, we had 8 items, but do need to pull one. That'll be item 3G. We'll save that for another day. And so I would make a motion that we approve all of the consent agenda except for item 3G.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item. Actually, let's just hold for a minute. Let the room kind of clear out.
That'll give me a chance to pull 3G out of here before I have to sign it.
All right, next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
All right. Notable vouchers under building maintenance. Ace Electric, Jones Company, Inc., $22,021.01. It's for the Hills Bark Park wrap-up. Under facilities management, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds. Stinney Construction Company, $352,443.35 is for the 707 Quincy Administrative Building. Total vouchers as of July 6, 2022 is $1,913,192.12. If there's no questions or comments, I would move for approval of the vouchers.
Second, motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, emergency management number 1, consider the authorization and execution of contract C206-2022 with Blue Valley Public Safety, Inc. for 2 outdoor warning sirens in the amount of $31,684.34, utilizing CIP funding. Approval for the expenditure of the remaining CIP 2020 monies to have a siren vendor examine the siren coverage and incorporating older sirens into the current system, and approval of CIP 2020 monies in case of project overruns due to unforeseen circumstances.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management. I want to take the moment before we do a vote on this to kind of clarify some things for transparency. The memo that was attached to this item to put on the agenda on June 28th was kind of vague. After speaking with Audit Finance and some others, I thought I'd take a chance to kind of clarify some of the things that are in that memo. First off, the project, our overall siren outdoor warning system is a constant improvement. The environment changes, we get new growth in the city and county, so it's a constantly monitored thing. And in this particular project with the sirens, started out of 2019 with those CIP monies, but COVID operations kind of put everything on hold for a couple of years. But we had originally identified 4 sirens from surplus coming out of a nuclear plant. These were in excellent conditions, and we wanted to grab those 4 sirens. But as we had those 2 years pause, only 2 of those sirens are still available. So we want to purchase those, and that leaves us some extra funds for this original project. And that's where the quote-unquote remaining monies come into play. And additionally, at the time, the technology, just a couple of years ago, didn't exist to bring some of our older sirens online. Older sirens that are still in place, some of the old Thunderbolts and some others, that technology didn't exist. It does now. So we're working with a contractor that's the study part. We want to come in and see if they can bring those older ones online with our new system and use that remaining monies for that, some of that. And the other part is what was the term I put on there? Unforeseen circumstances. When we tried to plant a couple of these sirens in the past, we came across, we didn't, but the contractor came across some pretty dense rock. And so they had to bring in special equipment, which bumped up the cost. So that's the unforeseen circumstances piece of that. So to try to balance that out, we talked with Audit Finance yesterday, and instead of just leaving it as an open-ended, we'll put that cap on at 55, which was the original amount, and we'll take that balance for the unforeseen out of that. And then we have some additional stuff with the Thunderbolts on the new budget request. So just wanted to take a moment and kind of clarify all of that stuff before you guys took a vote on it. So that's all I have.
All right, any questions for Dusty?
I would move to approve the request with the change noted that we would be removing the last paragraph or the last sentence of that
Last sentence of that
paragraph.
paragraph, and adding the
55,400 as the cap.
satisfactory, sir.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Dusty. Next item, please.
Item C, Health Department, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C210-2022 between the Shawnee County Health Department and TARC, which will provide $23,000 to Shawnee County Health Department for providing in-home nursing services for a 1-year period from July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023.
Good morning, Commissioners. Teresa Fisher, Director with the Health Department. This is a contract that we typically bring before you each June or July, and this allows for one portion of our nurses to provide in-home nursing services to supplement the TARC, specifically the infant toddler program that they run, which serves birth to age 3. So this individual attends the team meetings that they have. She's there as a resource and content expert. She also helps do the evaluations to determine if the children are indeed eligible for their program. And then lastly, she also serves on some of the actual cases with the clients. So it's a partnership that we've had for many years. It's a win for both organizations, and more importantly, it's a win for the families that we serve. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Teresa?
I would move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C2, consider approval of request to lease 2 vehicles from Enterprise Fleet Management for the Shawnee County Health Department J.P. Lewis Building at a total annual cost of $14,974.92 to be paid out of the Shawnee County Health Department operating budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Teresa Fisher, Director with the Health Department. The request before you today may sound similar to one I brought recently last year, and it is. I came before you late last year to request vehicles. One was a pickup truck to replace our aging truck that we use for maintenance and snow removal needs, and the other was a van that we currently use for the courier. We were able to get that request into Enterprise, but unfortunately we were requesting for 2022 models, and they have not been made, and they are not going to be made. We were notified. So this request is to get in line for the 2023 vehicles, which close here in mid-July, to be able to be on that list. We were able to get the same truck that we had requested, but the SUV that we requested had to be altered because the one is not actually taking orders for next year. So it's our hope that by getting in early here, we'll be able to get these vehicles hopefully early next year. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Since we are not going to be going with what had been previously approved, do we need to then just a note that that is being voided and rescinded so that it would be clear through audit finance so we don't wind up with 2 orders for vehicles?
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, so then as part of this then for approval, I would move that we rescind any prior lease approval.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, so that's the motion that we rescind that and approve this request.
Yes.
Okay, so a motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item 5, public comment.
I don't have anybody signed up. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none. Next item, please.
Item 6, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications?
Good morning, Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management again. If you weren't aware, Stampede is this coming week. If you live in this area, you're familiar with Stampede. It's a pretty large concert over a few days, and it brings in a lot of people, a lot of situations that kind of concern us. Not that the concert's concerning, it's a good concert, but there's a lot of people out there that are unprotected. They're out there camping and stuff over the next couple of days. And if you're really familiar with Stampede, you know that we have not had one in many years without some bad weather. What emergency management and our partners have done is we have a program from Everbridge called Nixle. So if anybody going to the Stampede would type in, make sure I get this right, 888-777, type to that phone number, 888-777, and type in Stampede 22. What that does is basically subscribes you to get emergency communications directly from emergency management concerning weather, evacuations, any kind of issues that might arise. And we share that information with our partners, and all the people who are putting the Stampede together, Heartland Park, all the public safety people can get together and get a message out. That's one message that everybody can understand, and hopefully there's no confusion, and it will give people direction to keep them safe. So please, if you're going to the Stampede, we encourage you to subscribe to 888-777 Stampede 22. And we will start testing that next week. You'll get a couple of test messages to make sure it works. And then we'll start relaying messages after they've been coordinated with our partners. And then next week, we're going to start talking about an application called 3 Words. And what that is a geolocation application. So if you're in a tent and you're having a medical emergency or there's something happening in a campground, sometimes it's hard for responders to find those people because they're not hard street addresses. So what this application does is it types in you click the location, it'll give you 3 words, and those 3 words will put a pin on a map for responders to go and find somebody in a 3 meter by 3 meter square. So we're going to be talking about that next week, and I hope to get on some interviews and stuff to kind of share that information. It's pretty important. And very useful for first responders to find anyone that might be in that kind of situation. So that's all I have. Thank you, and please be safe.
Good morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Kuhlman, Shawnee County Commission Office. The July newsletter, County Connections, has been posted to our website. It's very easy to find, just a few steps. First, you'll start off at our Shawnee County website, which is www.snco.us. At the top, there are some drop-down menus. You'll select Commission. At the Commission homepage, there's a link on the left-hand side. Click on Newsletter. July is National Parks and Rec Month. There's a month's worth of activities planned, including a 31-day challenge. Each day, there's an activity to encourage people to get out and get active in our parks. After people participate in that activity, they can post a picture on the Parks and Rec's Facebook event page for the challenge. With each post, remember to include #MeetYouThere. And each post that the patron enters will be a raffle prize drawing in the amount of $50 worth of gear from Dick's Sporting Goods. Also to note, on Tuesdays during July, we'll feature a $1 discount for the Gage Park Mini Train and Carousel. During the second week of June, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office held their annual Youth Academy, which is a program to promote a positive interaction between the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office and the youth of Shawnee County. The purpose is to build life skills, instill confidence, and develop self-esteem. The kids had many activities that incorporated teamwork, physical fitness, and even general law enforcement information. The goal is to provide a positive learning experience for our youth during their summer break. On Friday, June 17th, the Sunflower Girls State toured the Shawnee County Courthouse. The group of high school girls toured the offices of the County Commission, the County Clerk's Office, Register of Deeds, District Attorney, Treasurer's Office, and the courts. The Girls State program is dedicated to educating young women of Kansas about the inner workings of government through a learn-by-doing approach. They get together with young ladies of their own age from all across the state of Kansas for the purpose of forming and operating city, county, and state governments. Shawnee County milestones. Oh, I put March. Okay, I forgot to change the month, but this is still correct. So we have Michael Wright, Tracy Trammell from the Sheriff's Office. They were celebrating 25 years with Shawnee County. And Janet Morrissey, Public Works, with 30 years. Some July upcoming events. We have our normal county commission meetings are scheduled. Plus, budget hearings for 2023 began July 5th, and they will continue this afternoon and again on July 11th and 12th. They are streamed live, or you can watch them later from our YouTube channel. I also have the schedule posted for each department and office on the commission webpage. Also to note, the public hearing is Monday, August 22nd at 5:30 here in the commission chambers. So you can check out more stories that we have in the July County Connection. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. I just wanted to remind that today at 10:30 at the front lobby of the Shawnee County Department of Corrections, that will be accompanying the Rotary Topeka of the accept their award from State Farm of $25,000 that will be used to implement, in addition with the $10,000 that was approved earlier this year, to implement a program specializing in the release of females from incarceration. We believe this is going to be a very good program to start the mentorship relationship with incarcerated females prior to release, and then just the continuity of care. So at 10:30, that we will, the commissioners I've asked to come join us because they're going to do that check award to the Rotary at 10:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Commissioner Rippon?
I have nothing to report. It's a good 4th of July.
Yeah.
And I think we had a good event out at the lake. No mishaps.
Thank goodness.
You always worry with fireworks.
Yeah. Commissioner Cook?
I think after today, we hit the midpoint for budget hearings, and then finish those up next week.
Yeah, we'll be starting those up, I believe, at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And then, yeah, we've got Monday and Tuesday next week as well. So, busy. We'll keep up with that. I don't have anything else to add, though. So, next item, please.
Item 7, executive session.
We do not have a need for executive session today, so we are adjourned.